don't like the double standard. And I don't like the fact that I can get threats and stuff and nothing's done. I don't like the fact that as somebody who's an old-fashioned American who wants basic freedom and mom and apple pie, I'm the bad guy. And Joe Farah talked about this, Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily, last time he was on. He said, listen, from all the intel I've gotten, he said, I didn't support Sean McCain 4 years ago. He wrote a book saying, none of the above of that title. I'm going from memory on it, but I did read it. And he said, look, we're dead or in jail if Obama gets back in. And you know what? He didn't support McCain 4 years ago. He attacked Bush and wrote books about him and published books about him with Dr. Corsi about the New World Order and North American Union and all this. So I want to ask him again out of the gates, why is he saying that? Because we see now re-education camps in the new Army training manual, and the Army admits, yeah, that's our manual. That is new. We see these draconian attacks on the press. I've had Chris Hedges, the big liberal on New York Times, former bureau chief for the Middle East, saying, no, Obama is far worse. They are arresting reporters all over. They are signing executive orders where if you're involved in any foreign charity, they're trying to shut down getting passports in this country now. I mean, this is real. And I wish that if Romney got in, he would be better. Does Joseph Farah think that's really true? We'll find out. But he's with us for 50 minutes now. That's my introduction. Joseph, good to have you back on. What do you want to get into first?
I love your introductions because as you're introducing me, you're making my brain work. I want to comment on practically every single thing you just said. It's an amazing monologue, Alex, and thanks for having me.
You bet.
But yeah, my opinion on the basic question that you raised is, can America afford to have 4 more years of Obama? And the answer is no. And as I've said before on your show, I am no fan of Mitt Romney. I have no illusions that a Romney presidency is going to solve the basic problems that we have besetting our country right now. But I do believe that the best we can hope for is that we can buy ourselves some time so that you and Drudge and Farah and others out there who are, fighting for the Constitution, fighting for our God-given liberties in America, have enough time to reach America with the truth of what's going on out there.
Because liberty is on an upward arc. I think that's why the tyranny's moving so quick. It realizes it's in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. But to a great extent, I think there's a big part of America is still deaf, dumb, and blind to what's going on around them because, they're accepting at face value what they get from the lamestream media. They don't know about Alex Jones. They don't know about WND. And that remains a problem. And what Obama knows is that if he gets reelected, the key to destroying the very fabric of this country, which is ultimately his goal. I mean, I think that is his goal. That is the goal of the Democratic Party establishment.
Joseph, I have said this on air. I was watching the last debate a few nights ago with my wife, and when Obama said, yeah, I want to ban semi-autos, that's what he means by assault weapons and pistols, handguns, I looked at her and I said, I've said I'm not going to endorse either one of these people. I know they're both globalists, but, I mean, he's saying he's coming for our guns. He won't be facing re-election. He'll have pardons and executive orders. And my gut told me, my gut, it said, you better support Romney. And I came on air and admitted that. People are like, you're against the left-right paradigm, Alex. You're going against everything you've said. All I'm saying is my gut said, danger, Will Robinson. Is that why you're saying we're dead if Obama?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It brings me no joy to come to your show today and tell people that I'm eagerly actually awaiting Election Day so that I can cast a vote against Obama. I'm the guy, as you mentioned, the none of the above guy. The guy who wrote a book said, look, the standard has to be don't vote for anybody who doesn't support the Constitution, period, end of story. And I have to eat those words today because our country is in such a sad state of affairs that we really have no choice but to vote for the lesser of two evils, I believe, in this election, because there may not be another election if we don't sometimes principles sound great, and that's what I believed that in 2008 with all my. In fact, I said, look, you know what? Obama's actually going to cause a reawakening in this country among freedom-loving people. He did that. He did that because. But
it wasn't enough because he got doubled the food stamps and he's got all these people wanting Obama phones.
That's right. But he did turn up the temperature high enough where it created the Tea Party movement and it created a new awareness in this country. But it wasn't enough. And
he's on television saying he's going to ban semi-autos and extrajudicially just say people have mental problems and put you on a no-gun list, like a no-fly list, as Rahm Emanuel promised to do. I mean, let me tell you, when he was sitting there saying he's coming for my guns, it was just like, that is arrogant, to sit there and say that.
You know what his definition of people with mental problems is, don't you? That's you and me.
Oh, yeah, they've said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So we got our hands full. I sympathize with everything you said in that, especially when you were talking about the fact that, what you want to do, Alex, is really, report the news. That's a full-time job for any of us. And the reason I sympathize with you is I've been there for the last 15 years, begging and scraping and for the dollars to do this job, reaching as many people as we can reach, knowing that, if we had the resources, man, what could we do with them, How many more people could we reach? And I encourage all of your listeners to support you, with whatever they have, because, you represent, maybe the last hope for this country.
Well, all of us do together, but that's what's scary is to know there's not that many really prominent groups that can actually break something out and push it out there, because once they can shut everybody down, we've got liberty within our grasp. That's the thing. We're in the game, but it is a struggle, and if more people would just wake up, we would beat these people. That's what's so frustrating is we know how dire the straits are, and I don't know about you, but I have private discussions with my wife, which she's like, man, Switzerland, let's get out of here. And I'm like, listen, I know, we're down to that point privately. This is not rhetoric for listeners is what I'm saying. Joseph, I'm just going to guess. Have you and your wife ever discussed getting out of here?
Yes, we've discussed it a lot in the last year and particularly in the last few months when, we look at this election and we see, hey, this thing, you could flip a coin right now. And probably be as accurate as the polls in terms of, who's going to win this thing. What happened? Where do we go? Because I can tell you that this country, will not resemble the country we've known for most of our lives with another 4 years of Obama in office.
And that's the collectivist model. They bankrupt, they shut down the economy. They don't care if it makes the place poor. They like that. And then they've got the little chicken feed baubles with the domesticated, poor, pathetic slaves. It's such a horrible scenario to see that it's finally come. What people warned about 50 years ago, we are finally a rotting, corrupt empire run by communists.
Yeah, we're an election away from losing America. And it may not be this election. It might be the next one. But, that's how close we are. And, it's time for a social revolution in this country. I don't mean, gun toting.
Yeah, that's what Max Kaiser was saying earlier. How do we revolt? How do we get really aggressive? People need to really understand, folks. You didn't just listen to Joseph Farah or Alex Jones or going to WorldNetDaily.com or Infowars.com. Everybody needs to stand up. Listen, everybody I know that goes to Baptist, Catholic, Methodist churches, friends, family, you name it, they're all being told the government's good, Obama's good, the conservative preachers removed, weirdos are put in, and then they talk to family in another state. It's happening there. There is a lot of creepy takeovers going on right now.
Absolutely. It's happening everywhere. The cultural institutions that we once counted on to uphold our values are crumbling before our eyes. And, this is a long-term trend. This isn't something new. This isn't something Obama created, but Obama has put it on steroids. Obama and his friends in the big media. It's like it's hard to you got to search out the truth now. To a great extent, Alex, you know, the internet was a boon to alternative viewpoints that people like you offer. But, you know, it's still, you know, it's like you point out, you're operating on fumes half the time, you know? So am I. The money that we have to spend on doing what we do is, you know, what, a tiny, minuscule fraction.
Not even 1%. Not even 1% of an MSM.
What a communist outfit like MSNBC spends. Now, go figure that out. I mean, you know, you talk about audience. It's not even audience. The audience doesn't even matter. We have bigger audiences than them, but they have hundreds of millions and we have a million. And you know, that's what's frustrating is that we can see that if we had the money, because you've run some of the biggest newspapers in the country. I mean, we know these plans would work. If we just had more money and more support, and the listeners who've already been energetic would get out there and be even more energetic, we know victory is within our grasp. But that's what's so frustrating, is that we can really get our hands politically around the throat of this tyranny, but it's going to take people getting up off the couch. That's right. And one of the reasons for this is, I know this is true for you, because I know it's true for me. If it's true for me, it's true for you. We have heard, you know, that advertisers are afraid to advertise on WND, even though they like our numbers.
Oh, they tell us that every day.
What happens is that the pressure groups out there go after them, boycotts, all kinds of, you know.
See, I never talk about that, and maybe I should, but I don't. Sometimes it encourages them. Well, we have people that call all our sponsors and try to get rid of them. Yep. We have people that try to get rid of our stations. I mean, you know the dirty tricks. We don't really talk about it. It's incredible.
Yeah. And you know, it's a full-time job combating that, whereas you and I, what we want to do is we want to spend our time telling people about the news. And
the enemy knows that. They know if we're busy worrying about threats of suits or people calling affiliates or people messing with sponsors, I'm busy running around dealing with that all day instead of putting out information.
Right. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Who are you going to vote for?
Well, I mean, it's not a question here in Texas. You know who's going to win Texas.
Well, that's true. Your vote doesn't even count. But here in Virginia, it counts. This is considered a battleground state, and you know, so I gotta go out there and protect myself. That's the way I look at this election right now. This is self-preservation. You know, it may not be self-preservation for the average person listening to us right now, but I got to tell you that for Alex Jones and Joseph Farah and a handful of other very, very outspoken people out there, this election is a matter of self-preservation. We probably will not be doing what we're doing right now, one way or another, if Obama's reelected. That's just my absolute gut conviction. I don't believe that we will be permitted to do what we're doing if Obama's reelected.
My son goes to Christian homeschool events, but, you know, homeschooling's a huge all over the country, but really big in Austin. So there's a lot of kids there. And there's actually Democrats that are there. And my son, if he just says he doesn't like Obama when the kids are running around pushing, and they say, I want you arrested, and they go tattle to the camp, you know, counselor. And then we heard that teacher say, you'll be arrested if you criticize Obama. I mean, we're not just saying this. These are authoritarians.
Yeah, well, look at the guy who made the video about, you know, Islam, a satire.
Arrested.
Yeah. He's still in jail as far as I know. I mean, whatever happened to the First Amendment? It's amazing what is going on. Now, and that, you know, how often do you see that reported on television in the
No, when they arrested him, that was the only report.
Yeah, that's it. The end of the story. We may never hear from the guy again.
Man, I listen, so much I know is on your radar screen. Joseph Farah of WorldNetDaily.com, WND.com is our guest here. We're going to go to break here in about 4 or 5 minutes. But when we go to break, when we start now, where do you see things going geopolitically? Obviously, I'm not a fan of what Iran's doing, threatening to blow up Israel, which is really a crazy move when Israel has a lot more weapons than they do, nuclear among them. But separately, you've got Turkey, NATO, the U.S., and others. Now, New York Times admits giving weapons to al-Qaeda in Syria. They already gave them Libya. While saying, I've got to give all my rights up, for TSA because al-Qaeda may be in my wife's, bra. So, I mean, how do we navigate that craziness?
Well, there's no other way for you and me to do it other than by, telling people the truth, what's really going on. And what you say is an absolute fact. We should now be able to see, at least in retrospect, everybody listening to us should be able to see that the creation of the whole Homeland, Security behemoth was, not only a huge mistake, but it was a disaster for this country. And, we can't blame Obama for that. That was a George Bush thing. And it's now one of the most bloated bureaucracies in Washington. I know a lot of people who work for Homeland Security. You probably do too. Most of them tell me they have no work to do whatsoever. They sit around for 8 hours. The ones who do work are doing terrible things to the American people. Well, you said that months ago. Since then, 2 weeks ago, the Senate report came out admitting billions spent never targeting real terrorists, only harassing and putting Americans, mainly conservatives, on lists. Right. That's what it's all about. It's about the furtherance of big government, extra constitutional government, the deprivation of individual liberties. This is what we're creating, and that's a Republican creation. And so if somebody hears me say that, they probably would ask, well, but you're telling us to vote for Romney? And I'm saying, yeah, because again, what Obama will do in the next 4 years. I mean, I think I got some insight here. And again, I'm not just pushing a book, but I think Aaron Klein outlines this better than anybody else in his book, Fool Me Twice, which is mind blowing. The plans that are on the written plans of the Obama inner circle for what they're going to do in the next 4 years. It's scary. It's scary beyond words. It's nightmarish. It's Orwellian, and we've got to stop it. We just cannot let that happen.
And by the way,
it's all over for America. America's done if that happens.
Do you remember 3 years ago when Chicago schools said parents can't pack lunch? Now I've confirmed it's happening in Colorado and other states. And now they literally say, Michelle Obama says what you eat. And they're now saying we're going to tell parents what to pack.
Yeah, and I'm convinced things like that are just really what they're doing. That's conditioning. But just conditioning Americans to accept the fact that, you're a subject. You are a subject of the government. The government has every right and power to tell you everything about your life, what you can do, what you can't do. And, what other purpose is there to something like that? They can't honestly believe that the government cares more about your children than parents do. They can't really believe that. They can't really believe that the government knows what's better for your children than parents do. What it is it's just an effort to show that we can do anything we want to you. And there are consequences for, disobeying our will.
We're going to go to break. We're going to play a piece that John Bound did about the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, or false flag. But when we come back, I want to look at where you see things going in the election, because, there are thousands of tweets and Facebooks saying they plan violence, people, if Obama doesn't win. And if not this election, down the road, the armies of dependents, how they can be used as weapons against those of us that are actually productive members of society. We're going to look at that. And Joseph Farah, let me just throw this at you because I know you got a million things to talk about. After we cover that, what are a few of the things you're going to want to talk about?
No earthly.
No, but there's a lot of powerful stories at WorldNet Daily that I've been, just reading today. There's so many things on the radar screen. We'll talk about Iran. We'll talk about some of the Dr. Corsi articles about North American Union back on the front burner. We'll cover that all. He, of course, is the founder of the Western Journalism Center. His bio is lengthy. He's run some of the biggest newspapers in the country. And he's Joseph Farah, again, the founder of WorldNetDaily.com. I'm Alex Jones of Infowars.com. Just briefly, I've been doing this 48-hour thing and barely even plugging that we're doing a fundraiser for satellite uplink equipment and some other stuff. Because we've got some of these boards out here that are $30,000, folks. They're not even prosumer. We've got to get better equipment just for national TV because they're always locking up. And, well, the guys, want to smash the equipment in there. But thank you for all your support, whether you buy water filters, T-shirts, eBay things. It all goes to the MoneyBomb, InfowarsMoneyBomb.com, or link through at Infowars.com. We're going to go to this nightly news report, some of the things we're producing thanks to the help of last year's MoneyBomb, how far we've come in just 12 months. And then we're going to come back with Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily. I'm Alex Jones. Stay with us.
The global banking cartel has used one tried and true process to create wars, rob us of our currency, and eat away at our substance. This process of control over the masses is called the Hegelian dialectic. So what is it, and how is it being used today? German philosopher George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel devised a dialectic, or method to resolve a disagreement between outcomes. The dialectic is made up of three attributes: thesis, an idea or opinion; antithesis, the opposite idea or opinion; and synthesis, the alchemic process to bring together a wanted change. It is commonly referred to as order out of chaos, and is waged against the masses in many forms. Saul Alinsky, self-avowed Marxist, proponent of the Hegelian dialectic, published this in Rules for Radicals: any revolutionary change must be preceded by a passive, affirmative, non-challenging attitude toward change among the mass of our people. They must feel so frustrated, so defeated, so lost, so futureless in the prevailing system that they're willing to let go of the past and chance the future. George Bush became the hero of 9/11 simply due to the fact that he was the president, and then rammed through legislation that threatened our liberties as we all complacently stood by and allowed it to happen. A manufactured crisis occurs, thesis. George Bush answers it by rallying public opinion and becoming the host of the tragedy, antithesis, thus owning the crisis through synthesis. Equilibrium is attained. All of the once separate parts of the plan are joined together. In this example, the Patriot Act acting as the equilibrium on the desired road to tyrannical fascism in America.
They're too good at what they're doing. They create the crisis on record. They sell the fraud. Then they say, give us more power. Give up your sovereignty, Europe, America, and we'll fix it. But then it only implodes faster. They make bigger bonuses, but they're destroying their own golden goose. They're hacking it open greedily. When it's giving them a golden egg every morning, they think there's eggs inside. I think the point you made of because they're on record creating this to consolidate power. They've bragged about it. Those memos have been made public by Goldman Sachs and others. But they're going to fry things so badly, the bankers are all running to private islands with their own security teams. I mean, like they want to rule everything so much and have just so many digits in their bank accounts that they're going to devalue the value of the digits through their sheer greed.
That is a possibility. And if you look at the Hegelian dialectic, if that crisis at the beginning spins out of control, they lose the tail end of the dialectic, don't they? There will be no synthesis at the end. They'll be lucky if they survive.
Another method to manipulate the masses is the use of two opposing views to attain the desired view. Politician A espouses the first view. Politician B counters with the differing view. A clear example of this was the debate over the unconstitutional NDAA bill of 2012.
I strongly believe that the United States government should not have the ability to lock away its citizens for years and perhaps decades without charging them and providing a heightened level of due process. We don't pick up citizens. We don't incarcerate them for 10 or 15 or 20 years or until hostilities end, and no one knows when they will end, without giving them due process of law.
The great concern that we have now in terms of the security of the homeland is from so-called homegrown terrorists, radicalized Americans. So these people, in my opinion, have taken sides. They've joined the enemy. And to have this body at this time, as the threat of homegrown terrorism rises, say no, they can't be treated as enemy combatants, is not only doesn't make sense, and is totally unresponsive to the facts that I've just described.
President Obama threatened to veto the bill as long as it contained the section concerning due process, and then quickly changed his mind before the final version was voted through Congress. Obama then told the media that the version he had signed was revised to eliminate any threat to freedom of American citizens, even though this was not true, and the bill gives extraordinary powers to detain American citizens without a trial. The media synthesized Obama's lie by claiming that Obama will not use the powers he now has. The desired result is synthesized by mainstream media as they turn a blind eye to the debate. The American people cave into the lie because the process it is attached to seems so familiar. John Bound, Infowars Nightly News.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
He aligns himself with the truth, and it's time for you to choose a side. You're listening to Alex Jones.
And Joseph Farah, it's part of the 48-hour transmission that ends at 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern tomorrow. InfowarsMoneyBomb.com. And I'm not doing like PBS begging for money every 10 seconds. If you believe this information is important, you want to see it reach tens of millions more people every month, then go donate at InfowarsMoneyBomb.com. And the donations are really starting to come in. If you'd like to call and donate, it's 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And the great folks are in there to take your call. You can also go to InfowarsMoneyBomb.com and donate $100, get one of these great camouflage shirts that everybody I know just loves, with the Dayglow Hunter Orange, Liberty or Death 2012 Money Bomb shirt, with the evil pro-America Gadsden rattlesnake on it, and so much more. Frank just gave $365. Samantha, $365. I guess it's one of those items you get when you do that. Toby, $365. Kevin, $500. Joseph, $500. Susan, $500. Anna, $1,000. David, $1,000. Greg, $1,000. Hobart, $100. Mark L, $25. Christopher, $50. David, $25. We're crossing out their last names here. Vera's Fashion, Jewelry, and Accessories, $25. They wanted their name in there, so that's good. We plug it. By the way, Cabo Bob's, without asking, called us and brought us some of the best tacos in Austin, Texas. So some other restaurants, they don't want to be named. We're going to be like 800 pounds after this. But thank you. Cabo Bob's is just awesome. Cabo Bob's of Austin. But InfowarsMoneyBomb.com. I mean, it's real simple. The Money Bombs, I don't know, I've raised about $2 million the last 4 years. And it really helped me be able to go, okay, well, I can now buy this equipment, or I can now do that. And this Money Bomb is going to enable us, if it continues to come in, to be able to get the... See, most TV isn't satellite uplinks now. We're going to do that too. But then it's all proprietary with big companies that won't unscramble, and it's all these corporations trying to keep you off the air. Glenn Beck had trouble getting on Dish Network. But there's these global free-to-air systems. We're already getting the show downloaded every night and aired in England on mainline cable. I mean, Paul Watson can see it on TV every night. Cable systems owned by Patriots or managed by Patriots all over the U.S. are downloading and editing it and airing it themselves. Now it'll be packaged, sent out at 7 o'clock, but also they're in archives for people and vignettes. It's going to be even better. I mean, it's already amazing what we've done. This is the beta test. And now we're going to the next level. So InfowarsMoneyBomb.com. Plus, I'm tired of being intimidated that you shouldn't ever ask for money or you shouldn't sell books or videos. no, I should just get banker bailout money like George Soros and then use it, to try to restrict the First Amendment or give, billions of dollars of bailout money to NBC and MSNBC. It's a joke. They always take our money and then use it against us. And then when Nightline or MSNBC is here at my office, I don't even let them come here now. They've called in the last few months. But in the last few years, I'd let them come here. They're like, you make money. Oh, this is a big office. You're making. I'm like, well, you don't make money? What matters is what I stand for. People can judge whether it's true or not. Joseph Farah, I want to get back to you here and talk about all the death threats, all the rest of it. I really appreciate you joining us in the middle of this special transmission today. But separately, getting back to funding, and then we'll get into all the death threats to Romney and the threats to Riot, because I want your take on that big national story in the last week. But what do you make of this? I'm sure you've seen it, this intimidation that those of us that aren't communist or socialist or fascist, that we're bad, that we go out and put our ideas in the marketplace of the world. So, I mean, I love how communists and socialists and collectivists criticize us when we pay our own way.
Exactly. It's funny when you mentioned, we're not doing the PBS thing here. You ever notice what PBS does when they raise money? They actually put on programming that attracts people. It's the only time you'll ever see anything on PBS that might actually interest you. It's usually entertainment-oriented. It's not political. Those are the devices they use. It's like a bait-and-switch operation, whereas you and I, when we raise money, we do the same thing we do every single day, right? Exactly,
yeah.
That's what's really going on here. But with regard to these threats, I mean, think about it. If these threats are being made, and they are, against Romney, who's, basically Mr. Milquetoast out there, I'm not even sure that Romney hasn't been, anointed as the successor here. It's the old story: one step forward, two steps back, that kind of thing. But the reality is, there are threats being made against Romney, viable, real-time, real-life threats. If they can get away with that with the presidential candidate, what can they get away with Alex Jones and Joseph Farah, or Breitbart or whoever? And this is increasingly worrisome for people like us. And it's a reality we have to live with and possibly die with. That's the world we live in now. I don't think America has ever been, with the possible exception of, during the Civil War, more stratified as a nation than it is right now. It's like there are two Americas. There's the America that still believes in the founding principles, and there's an America that wants to be just like all the other nations in the history of the world which were, top-down tyrannies. And so, we're in a bad way right now, but thank heaven you're out there slugging away, and I am, and a few other patriots who have some kind of a platform to use.
Couldn't say it any better myself. Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily joins us. Joseph, what do you, in your gut, think is going to happen day one if Obama was to lose? Because, I mean, I track all the polls. It does look like Romney has either closed on him or surpassed him in almost every poll, and we know that polls have always been leaning towards the Democrats. I mean, why does the power structure like Democrats? I mean, clearly in that debate, even if you don't like Romney, it's clear that Aleister Crowley and Obama were teaming up. I'm sorry, Candy Crowley. Sorry, I was an accident. Mr. Maddow, whatever. Were teaming up against Romney and just trying to interrupt. I mean, they were desperate, and Obama looked really freaked out and beady-eyed.
Yeah, and the time difference in terms of who got to speak longer. I mean,
Obama got, what, 9% longer? Yeah, you're right, 9% longer, 28 interruptions versus 9.
And by the way, Candy Crowley has gotten a lot of heat, and rightfully so. I think she stepped that, over the line a few times. But what I want people to recognize is Candy Crowley is actually probably one of the better journalists in America today. On a scale of 1 to 10, she's high up there as somebody who is not, completely 100% sold out to to the tyrants. And she's a reporter. Look, she didn't get there because of her looks. That's clear. So they put her out there. To give her some credit, she actually apologized for stepping into the debate at one point.
No, you're right. I'm being a little mean because when the president says, "Isn't that right?" I mean, you're going to be apt to sit there and say that one more time. But
what's interesting is she actually apologized for correcting Romney when he wasn't wrong, but her network, they continue to push the idea that Obama had actually characterized what happened in Benghazi as a terrorist attack when he really didn't. For 2 weeks, he really didn't do that. It was a spontaneous uprising by an unruly mob. It wasn't organized. This is the kind of thing that goes on. But this debate was frustrating, I believe, for people like you and me, because neither one of the candidates gave answers that were very inspiring or really dealing with the root issues that are plaguing America today. And again, I don't want to be characterized as a Romney booster any more than I was, falsely accused of supporting Bush when I never did. But the problem is we're in a unique scenario today. We're so close to full-scale tyranny, and I believe that if Obama's reelected, we will see it happen in a very short order. First Amendment gone, Alex Jones gone, Joseph Farah gone, and maybe for some people that wouldn't mean that much to them. But I hope to your listeners and to all my readers, they will recognize that it's got a very thin veneer here left between full-scale tyranny and the possibility of returning America to its constitutional heritage.
And the thing is, that's not rhetoric. But I understand why people in Nazi Germany and other tyrannies didn't get out quick enough, because you love the country, you're there, you still think you can change it, and you can't believe it's happening.
That's right.
And you haven't done anything wrong, so why should you leave? They don't care. I mean, I watch TSA and other feds and people. They are there to treat you like crap and let you know you're crap.
That's right. Well, what we're trying to hold on to is what America was supposed to stand for, what it once stood for. That's what we're trying to do. It's not like we're trying to go back in time. It's not like we're want to regress.
No, we want the essence of the dream of America that we were trying to perfect. Instead, it's turned into a nightmare. I mean, we want just basic private property, due process, level playing field, the public's treated with respect, we the people, we're the boss. And instead, anybody who's read a history book knows this is a classical tyranny we're going into.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody says it better than you, Alex.
Oh, I don't think so. What else is on your radar screen? I mean, what do you think is front and center right now with this election? Because, one
of the things that we've been covering uniquely, I have to say, is that here's what's about to happen. I'll let you in on a little secret, unless you already read it in WND. And that is that shortly, probably in the next few days, Obama's going to announce a major diplomatic breakthrough with Iran. The whole thing's phony from the get-go. In fact, what I can tell you is basically what he did was he sent his political advisor, his number one political advisor, Valerie Jarrett, to meet with a representative of the Ayatollah in Qatar on October 1st, or approximately October 1st, and basically say, look, we need a solution. if Romney's elected president, he's going to let Israel bomb you guys. We have discouraged Israel from doing that. So what we want you to do is we want you to announce a temporary suspension of uranium enrichment, and what we'll do is we'll lift the sanctions on you guys as of March if we're reelected. And so you're probably going to see in the next few days this huge announcement by Obama, probably happen after the debate. And because only WND has reported this, and it hasn't really been picked up elsewhere to any extent, he can probably get away with it, even though we know we've provided all the details of this agreement. But you know that the mainstream media is just going, they're going to allow Obama to write their stories for them. That's the way it works.
No, that's now confirmed. And regardless of where people stand on Iran, that is a huge national story. And I've got to be honest, I look at your site a couple times a day. I had missed that. What's the headline on that? Because I got WorldNet Daily up right here on my screen, WND.com. I want to see that, because that is a huge national story that he plans to lift sanctions, according to your sources.
Yeah, Obama cuts deal with Iran over nukes. It's up there. Now, this is about our third story, with each one with more detail than the last. I mean, we know this meeting took place. I know, I can say this with 99% assurance, that Valerie Jarrett, Obama's closest advisor, in fact, I would say she's the most powerful woman in the country. He doesn't do anything unless he checks with Valerie Jarrett. He sent Valerie Jarrett to Qatar to meet with these folks and put together this deal. It's a phony deal, okay? No matter what you think about Iran, whether they have a right to have a nuclear bomb, whatever, he is going to announce that there's been this great breakthrough. They're suspending uranium enrichment when it's only a temporary suspension. It doesn't even have to do with...
So it's a political stunt. You know, I'll be honest with you, because I know there's all these different angles to this, but I do Japanese TV, I do Russian TV, I do Argentinian TV, Brazilian TV, U.S. TV. I mean, especially if it's Skype, I can come in and do it quick. I say no to like Discovery Channel, History Channel now, because they want to come in for like 2 days and take over, even though it's big shows. But RT would want me on every 2 weeks or so the last few years, and I'd go on because it's on cable systems around the world. I can talk about the New World Order and stuff. But the minute that I started criticizing Obama in this election, I mean, it was like, not that I even care because I don't have a very big audience, boom, never back on RT again. And I think that, I think for whatever reason, Russia does favor Obama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. Well, you remember those famous off-mic remarks that Obama made that weren't quite off-mic. Just wait until after the election, and we'll straighten all that out. And just need a little time to deal with that. And this is the message that Valerie Jarrett brought to Iran. We need your help to get reelected. Is there any question in anybody's mind that Iran would rather see Obama in the White House than Romney?
Well, let me ask you this. Why does Iran, because I know they're smart folks over there, they're really smart. They're some of the smart people around historically. Why do they? Because, I mean, there's been some misinterpretations of what Ahmadinejad says, but lately they have been saying we're going to blow up Israel, we're going to wipe it off the map. Why would they be doing that while all these weapons are massing around them? I mean, that is crazy.
Well, that's a good question. I think it's because this is my personal feeling. I don't believe that they would ever nuke Israel. It doesn't make any sense from a strategic point of view, because you end up killing more Muslims than Jews, and that's not their goal. I think those nuclear weapons are meant to come over the border and be used on us. That's my personal. People say, they don't have a delivery system. Why are we worried about
bringing in a container ship?
Yeah, their delivery system is on a backpack walking over the border.
Yeah, but I mean, why does Iran sit there and say that? I mean, I don't want war, but why does Iran sit there and say we're going to blow you up?
Because because it allows. Here, Iran is at war with Saudi Arabia, quiet, cold war with Saudi Arabia. They want to be perceived in the Middle East and throughout the Muslim world as the real strong guys.
The big swing, and you know what?
That's right. There's the Shiites and you got Saudi Arabia representing the Sunnis, and Saudi Arabia's got a lot of money. They basically buy politicians off. Iran, by the way, wonders why it is that the U.S. likes Saudi Arabia and doesn't like them. They really wonder about that. They have this on very good inside intel from a member of my staff who spends a lot of time in the Middle East, and he explains to them, well, you know what? Every president that's elected, when they leave office, they're rich, they're wealthy beyond their wildest dreams because the Saudis just give them millions of dollars. Every single one of them, from Bush Sr., Clinton, Carter, George W. Bush, they leave office. Whether if they were wealthy before, they're wealthier after. It all comes from Saudi Arabia. Iran doesn't play that game. They play a game of bluster. That's their game. And they get a lot of attention doing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Saudi Arabia is smarter. They give them those $1 million speaking engagement consultancies. And if a U.S. president, gets $10 million over a couple of years from Saudi Arabia when they retire, well, that's what I'm saying. Iran's really smart in ways, but also really dumb.
Yeah, and they talk out of both sides of their mouth. One minute they tell you, no, we don't want to have a war with Israel. Next moment, we're going to eradicate all the Jews from the Middle East. I mean, what are you supposed to believe? If you're Israel, what are you supposed to believe? Are you supposed to take the best case scenario or the worst case scenario? That's why Israel really feels genuinely threatened by Iran. That's why Israel is not, in my opinion, doing more to fight this Muslim Brotherhood spreading throughout Syria and Egypt and so forth, because they figure the most immediate threat they face is Iran. That the long-term threat might be that the Muslim Brotherhood takes power in every surrounding country. Well, that's a nightmare too, but it hasn't happened yet. But Iran, they believe, is imminently going to have nuclear weapons that they can fire at them. And that's something that...
So what's the word? Will Iran get hit as an October surprise before the election, after, or is that off?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Will Iran get hit before the election, after, or is that off?
Iran's not going to be hit at all now because, not before the election for sure. And if Obama gets his way and gets reelected with his little October surprise, which is this, diplomatic breakthrough that he announces, then it's going to be very difficult for Israel to do anything.
Who do you think, in closing, is really behind the killing of the ambassador? Because I've heard Steve Pachinik say it was the neocons, and I've got other people saying it was actually Russians. And you do see consulates and heads of consulates getting blown up now, just like we saw in Lebanon today with a security person being killed. I mean, the Russians are going to strike back. There's a proxy war in Syria. Or was it really al-Qaeda jihadis that the West put in power there? What?
Well, that's what I believe. I believe that. And you pointed out, look, who are we helping all over the Middle East right now? Where's our money? In fact, that ambassador was bringing weapons to the same people who killed him. Now, could there be more of an explanation? Could there be more to it? I'm sure there is. Sometimes I wonder, for instance, okay, why didn't the guy have any security? Was he set up? I mean, did they want him dead for some reason? I mean, you have to look at all the possibilities here, and the fact of the matter is we just don't know. We just don't know yet.
No, I agree with you. We don't know. We just know it's ridiculous that I think what tells us what really happened, and I
know if I'm in the Middle East, I got more security than that ambassador had.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
But expanding on that, why deny that it was coordinated and premeditated and professional, a.k.a. not a terrorist attack? Why deny that?
Oh, well, that's an easy one, because they would be admitting that the very people they've been aiding with weapons and money, the people they sided with, they chose to overthrow Gaddafi. Now, Gaddafi was a monster. We all know Gaddafi was a monster. We all know, Bashar Assad in Syria is a monster. But there are monsters and there are worse monsters. And what we did in Libya and what we did in Egypt and what we're doing in Syria is supporting the worst monster of the two possibilities. And so if it became known, and I think it is becoming known, that Obama chose to aid the wrong side,
Al-Qaeda,
and it backfired on him, that doesn't make for very good headlines. That doesn't make for a very good story to tell when you're running for re-election.
and then Saudi Arabia buys off our politicians, but at the same time funds all the crazy jihadis, a.k.a. Wahhabist Al-Qaeda. What is their game? I guess just, they're already 80% of Islam, I guess just take over every country.
Yeah, it's really using money. They don't only buy the politicians. Look, they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in our institutions like Harvard and Georgetown University, and they create, Arab studies departments and all this stuff. They push their ideology in so many ways. In fact, every law firm in Washington, practically every major law firm in Washington, they're doing business with to ensure that nobody can ever hire a law firm in Washington to go after the Saudis. I mean,
exactly.
They got their bases covered.
All I know is when the TSA asks me if I'm a terrorist or wants to, I'm like, look, I'm not playing your game, okay? I'm not with Al-Qaeda, the government is, and you're not going to grab my, I'm just tired of it. I don't like living in a police state, and it makes me angry, and it's just such a game, Joseph Farah. I'm tired of playing along with it.
I'm with you. Look, after 9/11, when I heard George W. Bush, announce his plan that what we were supposed to do, the ordinary people, we were supposed to go out and shop and make sure the economy didn't fall apart. And he was going to take care of all the problems with the creation of Homeland Security. I wrote back then, I said, this is the absolute wrong prescription. If you are worried about terrorism in America today, this is what you should do. You should go out and buy guns to protect yourself and your family, okay? If everybody in America was at that state of mind, there isn't anything that terrorists could ever do, or any conventional army invasion. There's nothing that any enemy could do to America if Americans just followed that simple prescription.
Instead, they flip-flopped it, and I'll say Homeland Security is for constitutionalists, libertarians, conservatives, returning veterans, and it's clear that that is what they're going to use it for, and it is the height of authoritarian despotism. Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Always a pleasure. You're a national treasure, Alex Jones. Don't ever change.
Well, thank you, sir. So are you guys over there as some of the only alternative media out there that will actually defend this country and speak out against the globalists. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.